I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
This is a matchup for the ages. Body cuts a path straight to the paint, and she serves up a slam dunk. Oh, Body may have the win, but Frank really got the W on that play. That's gotta hurt.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Reaction Time. Sorry, I'm laughing. We're just shooting the shit here before we hit record. Iowa State was off this weekend. Something Ben and I just didn't process as we were prepping. We convinced ourselves we had to recap Oklahoma and Oklahoma State again. We won't be doing that.
No, luckily our wonderful producer Aiden Wyatt reminded us that we had already done that.
Yeah, but we did get a chance to talk to Metcalf and St. John at weekly media availability. I'm going to take full credit for that.
You deserve
100%.
it.
Because I had texted Dresser last week and I said, hey, what are the chances we get Metcalf and St. John soon? Just because I do really appreciate when we get the chance to speak to them and get their perspective, just because I think they have really great insight.
Mm-hmm.
And so originally he was like, well, I don't think we're going to do that, to go ahead and schedule time with them. And so Metcalf and I did like 45 minutes together. And then today we show up and it's like surprise availability. But it was really fun. It was a really good time. I thought they gave some good insight into some of the guys. What were your highlights from speaking with them?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway that I had was from Metcalf's and guys getting in the flow and the rhythm of things. Obviously, Iowa State's lineup has been riddled with injuries and guys switching weights and everything a wrestling lineup could possibly go through, Iowa State's lineup has. So to hear him talk about guys finding their rhythm, getting in a groove, I think that was his word, getting in a groove, has been huge for this lineup. And this week off really helped with that. So he singled out guys like Jacob Frost. He's filling in for Anthony Echemendia, who is out for the year. Now officially will be hopefully getting a medical red shirt. He had a second surgery on his ankle after it got infected, and it sounds like he'll actually have several more.
Yeah.
So there's been some discourse on whether or not that's a real injury. It is a very real injury. He's having several surgeries on it, which is unfortunate for Anthony, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But Jacob Frost has stepped in that lineup, and he did not expect to wrestle this year as a starter. And he stepped in. He beat the number 4 guy last week. He's ranked as a top 10 wrestler now. He's wrestling as well as his brother Evan Frost is. And that's been super fun to watch. So just to see him get in his groove, and then Evan Frost, obviously, he had his weight issues earlier in the year. He's got that under control, and now we're seeing the Evan Frost that we got used to last year. He's in his groove. You got Panero Johnson, Cody Chittum. Those guys are finding their groove. Both of those guys were dealing with injuries and different things at the beginning of the year. They're finding their groove. They're wrestling really well. We're still waiting on Aiden Riggins and MJ Gaitan to find that groove. I think they can. We've seen from both of them really good matches, really good wins. Like last week against Oklahoma, MJ had a really good win against the number 7 guy in the country, then followed up with a really bad loss. I mean, the loss itself wasn't bad because the guy who's wrestling was number 3 in the country.
Right. It
was bad in the way it happened. He didn't look like he wrestled well. So we're still waiting for a few guys to find their groove. So hopefully this week to Metcalf used the word mentally reset, has helped them get in that groove, find that groove, and then hopefully we see a really strong lineup as we go into March. And I mean, obviously we're in February right now, because Iowa State has some really talented wrestlers. Like they're a top 15 team. So what does that look like when they're clicking on all cylinders? And I think that's the thing I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I agree. The probables for this weekend are no different than what you saw against the Oklahoma schools, right?
I think the only difference is Tate Noctavor enlisted at 197 as an or to Nate Schoen.
But my guess is, we'll see Nate Schoen be the guy, is what we gathered. We got to talk to him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always fun to hear from these guys about their process of getting their start, just because, they're not quite as polished as guys who are kind of conditioned and prepared to start right from the jump. And so it is always funny to listen to them, especially talk about cutting weight. So Nate talked about cutting weight from 285, from the heavyweight to 197. And I can only imagine what his diet was.
I know.
Because he said he's never had to cut weight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty significant thing to have to start doing when you've been on the roster for, what is it now, 2.5?
Well, he gray shirted, red shirted, and then now he's listed as what looks like a sophomore. So this must be his 3rd year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
2.5 years. Yep.
But I think that's the biggest takeaway I think that fans should take, is that the lineup is what the lineup is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's anything you can be confident in, is that this is probably what we're working with, besides Kyson Terrakina coming back, assuming his injury, whatever he's got dinged up, is healing, and he's recovering and practicing and gets back out there in March, is my guess.
Yep. Yeah. Metcalf made it sound like Terrakina is out there on the mat doing most things, is what he said. Doing most things. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I'm interested to see what how Nate Schoen fills in at 197, because like Jacqueline said, he has never cut weight before. So he's like, that West Virginia match, I literally couldn't feel my body.
That was crazy when he described that.
Yeah. He's like, I'd never experienced that before, but like, I could not feel my body. And then he had a good win against Oklahoma. So hopefully he can start stringing a few together and seeing what he can do. Metcalf said, Nate Schoen's got some stuff in there. He's got a great high crotch, a good, strong double leg. I'd like to see some of that explosiveness. But we've seen the funky rolling around Nate Schoen so far. And Nate Schoen himself described his style as unorthodox. But I'd like to see some of that more standard wrestling where you shoot a good blast double and put your opponent on his butt. So interested to see how he performs as the season winds down here.
Well, and he also made a comment like twice about how hard they practice, and like kind of signaling of like the expectations that Dresser holds with his program. So obviously this season, especially, being a backup doesn't necessarily mean you're just going to ride the bench the whole season. Clearly guys like Nate have gotten the call when maybe they didn't necessarily expect it. So it's also, I think, a testament to how Dresser trains these guys for them to kind of, whipped into shape. Because Daniel Herrera is a really good example of that, who cannot catch a break, which it's funny because we've talked about how tough the heavyweight class is every season, right? It's just, we're talking about younger. We were talking about Sam Schuyler. Daniel Herrera, a true freshman, is just getting tough competition left and right. Looking at this weekend, he gets number 5 Colton Schultz. Big fan of Colton Schultz over here. And then he'll get number 13 in Dayton Pitts. Is it Pitzer?
Pitzer, yep.
Okay. From Pitt. So I think as ready as you can get a freshman, Daniel Herrera is going to be as ready as he can be going into March.
Yep.
So also excited to see how he can kind of continue to grow and step up and grow his confidence. And it just feels like maybe a lot of other Cyclones are also getting a chance to grow their confidence in competition. So I feel like this weekend will be a good test to see, a measuring stick, as we like to say in sports.
Yep.
A good measuring stick to see how these guys are really like filling into their roles now that maybe it's going to be more predictable of like, MJ will be at 174.
Yep.
And Aiden Riggins will be at 165. And maybe Nate now can feel a little more confident that he will be starting at 197. So, yeah. Which, like you said, there's some talented guys in there, so.
Yeah, Arizona State specifically, like, you couldn't get more opposite dual teams than Arizona State and Pitt. St. John mentioned it. Arizona State has bookends. They got a really good 125-pounder and number 2 Richie Figueroa.
Yep.
And heavyweight Colton Schultz, obviously. And then everyone else isn't very good. Like their 149 pounder Jesse Vasquez is ranked number 21, but he's 13-6. And then like no one else is ranked. So that's a very top heavy team, or top and bottom heavy team, if you will. And then Pitt has everyone from 74 to heavyweight is ranked in the top 20. And then they have 3 other wrestlers ranked in the top 25. So they have 7 guys ranked. They are a very complete dual meet team. Like, it reminds me of the Iowa State teams from 3 years ago when they were a great dual meet team and they had guys, everyone was ranked from 20 to 10. And like, that's the best they could be. Maybe David Carr was ranked number 4 or 3 at the time as a freshman or sophomore, whatever that was. But like everyone else was ranked in the teens. That's what Pitt reminds me of. Like, they are just a solid team. So Arizona State, you're going to get some really good top end competition for some guys, but Pitt, pretty much everyone except for Evan Frost, actually everyone except the Frost brothers will be tested against Pitt. I think both Frost brothers should win quite easily against whoever Pitt throws out there at those weights, but yeah, couldn't get 2 more opposite teams to come to Hilton, and it should be, I think Arizona State's a win pretty easily for Iowa State. Pitt will be a great dual meet, I think.
I think so too. It's a pretty, I don't know if I want to say even matched. I mean, Pitt is number 15, Iowa State's number 14. So rankings wise, they're neck and neck. But I think like you said, I think it'll be pretty interesting to see who comes out on top. I think Iowa State can do it, though.
I think Iowa State probably should win. We have the same same amount of ranked wrestlers, it looks like. The difference is Iowa State has more top-end wrestlers. I would say Evan Frost is number 5, Panero Johnson number 7, Jacob Frost top 10, Cody Chittum top 10. So I think Iowa State has more of the top-end wrestlers, so I think that probably pushes them over the edge. Hopefully you get bonus points out of both Frost brothers there and see what you can't do. Maybe Panero also, you could count him bonus there. So that was one thing that Panero brought up too today, both Panero and Metcalf. Panero's looked good this season. Coming back from his gambling suspension, all of that. This is his 3rd different weight. He was at 165, 157. Now he's at 149. He's looked good. He beat Willie McDougald from Oklahoma. He beat the Oklahoma State guy who was ranked. He's looked good, but we haven't seen the bonus points yet from Panero. And he's like, I need to get bonus points in Hilton. Yeah. And Metcalf's like, Panero needs to believe that he can bonus everybody in the country except for maybe the top 4 guys. I think that's reasonable. Yeah. Like, for how explosive Panero is and for how offensive minded he is, I want to see more bonus points out of him.
And clearly he always talks about David, and it's a testament to their friendship, right? Like, I think they were roommates back when the year that Panero won his Big 12 championship. Yep. I remember that was a big talking point for them. So like, he clearly, looks to David probably for a lot of, I don't know, just guidance. And they probably trained together at one point. Probably still do when David's around, when he's not on the road competing himself. I think he's in Croatia.
I was going to say he's over in Europe right now.
Yeah. So bonus points were a David Carr signature. And so it would be fun to see Panero. Can you imagine a Panero Johnson match where, he gets a tech fall before the match is even over? But something Panero said that I thought was funny was when he said Metcalf's the only one who will tell him he's great. Yep. Which is funny because Dresser has also made jokes in interviews like, well, I guess it's not really a joke. He means it in that you don't need to tell him because he knows it and believes it and he says it, or I guess maybe believes it sometimes. So I thought that was funny when he was like, yeah, Metcalf's the only one who will say it. Oh, I love Panero. We got a chance to talk to him for 8 minutes, and then Andy had to cut us off. He had to go to practice. Yeah.
Iowa State's wrestling SID. He's like, all right, and that's all the time we have with Panero. He has to go to practice. Like, oh, I guess it is that time. And we got a text from Aiden, our producer, saying, where are you guys?
It's Panero Johnson's fault.
Yeah, it's all Panero's fault. Sorry. So But he's such a good interview. Like,
He is.
you
He's a
ask
good
him one
time.
question and he goes off for 2-3 minutes, and it's usually on topic, and he's so jovial. And yeah, Pinero's an excellent interview. Great guy to talk to.
Well, and he gives such great insight into his wrestling, which is so difficult to get guys to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Because they keep it so close to their chest, and it makes sense. You know, these guys are studying each other, and I understand that. But Pinero's really good at giving insight into how he likes to wrestle, what he's working on, how can he be better. And so if you haven't ever watched a Pinero Johnson interview, you should. This one specifically, he's so casual. He's just having a conversation with us for 8 minutes. I highly recommend it. It's really good.
Yeah. And yeah, he even said in the Oklahoma State match that he would have liked to have scored more, but he never took a backward step, which he had at a point of pride. Like, he was always going forward. He was always pushing the pace. He was the one attacking on the prowl, if you will. And I mean, he's the one. He beat Carter Young. What was it? 4-2. Yep. 4-2. And I asked him, was like, is that something that you consciously try to do, is to always go forward and always press the attack? He said early in his career, it wasn't, because guys thought the key to beating him was to just make him tired, get him tired, and then put it on him. And then he's like, but I taught guys real quick that my counter offense is really good. And it was. I was like, as soon as he said that, I remember the Austin Gomez match, right, where he put him on his back, and it was like, that's crazy. Or is that Swiderski? It was Swiderski that it was
I was going to
Pinero.
say, what year are we talking here?
It was when Austin Gomez was in Wisconsin. It was both their freshman year, their true freshman year.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Pinero.
Okay.
It was. And Casey beat he beat another top ranked guy. Not important.
Anyways.
But Pinero, I remember his freshman year, the big talking point was his counter offense. Like, it was so good. And it's like, yeah, we haven't seen that in a while. And it's because guys realized that you can't just shoot wild shots on Pinero, because he will capitalize and make you look like a fool. And so I want to see him develop more of that offense. It's great that he's going forward, pushing the pace, doing all those things. But I'm very excited to see what a more offensive-minded, a bonus point-minded Pinero Johnson could do, just from his feet. And then what I'd love to see from Pinero is to develop a top game, ride guys a little bit more, and then do what David did and get wrists and tilts. Like, David made a living off of getting tilts. And it's like, I say this, such an easy way to get 4 points. It's not easy. The other guy's wrestling too. But David collected 4 near fall points left and right from grabbing wrists and getting tilts. So I'd love to see that. I mean, when you said that David and Pinero are great friends, and they are, it's like, oh, I'd love to see David teach Pinero those tilts. So, yeah.
Well, I looked it up, and Pinero beat Austin Gomez 9-4.
Yep.
And he had 2 third period takedowns.
Yes.
Which Pinero talked about how he needs to do more in that, just score more points, but also just like that third period, have a stronger third period of like setting himself up for a strong third period. Sorry.
Yep.
So, I mean, he beat him 9-4. Gosh, Austin Gomez.
All over the place.
Yeah. But yes, excited for Pinero. Like I said, I think that's the biggest key takeaway so far out of this week, is just looking at this lineup and feeling good about guys like Evan Frost and Jacob Frost and Pinero and Cody Chittum. And I would keep your eyes on how MJ Gaitan does. Evan Bachman, I think, could have a really good chance also at finishing a really strong season. I worry about Kyson Terrakina.
Yep. Me too.
I really, really wanted him to have like a solid final season. I wanted to see him reach the heights that we know he could from just, really good matches he's had in his career. But I just worry with being plagued with an injury. And
Yeah. I mean, he had a neck injury earlier this season.
Yeah.
And then at the dual meets 2 weeks ago, he had a leg brace.
Yeah.
And it didn't look good, but Metcalf saying that he's participating in most things on the mat, so that's promising.
And
But
Kyson said that leg brace is mostly just there to help support him. He said it wasn't necessarily like a broken bone, you need it type of thing, but you just never know with these things. But I am excited to see what Iowa State does this weekend, just because it's like, you should be Arizona State, so let's see you do that.
Yep.
And then let's see what you can do against a team like Pitt.
Yep.
Which Pitt is always a sneaky good duel.
They are, but I am a fan of Pitt. Also, senior night against Arizona State.
I was just going to bring up the stuff about what this weekend is. And Friday night, senior night. And it's Stripe Hilton night.
Oh, fun.
Who knows if we'll see fans successfully do that. Can you guys successfully do that? It's always so hard to get those stripes.
Stripes is hard.
It's so
Whiteout,
hard.
yes.
Which is
pretty
Sunday.
Reasonable. Yep, whiteout is Sunday.
Sunday's a whiteout.
Yeah, against Pitt. So if you are going to the Arizona State duel, which you should be a fun time.
Yeah.
Check your seats and see which color you're supposed to wear.
Yeah, make sure you're wearing the right color before you guys get there on Friday night. Selfishly, I'm excited for Arizona State to be here because their physical trainer, Jess, we're good pals.
Yeah, on Twitter.
I can't wait to see her.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her since last year. So selfishly, I've been very excited for Arizona State to join the Big 12 just because I'll get to see her 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So I'm super pumped. She's very good at her job. Keeps those guys healthy.
Yeah.
So you guys will see her, I'm sure, on TV or at Hilton. She'll be in the corner. She's a fashionable gal. But no, I'm excited. Panero said it today too. He's like, I feel like I haven't really competed much at Hilton. I feel like we haven't really been in Hilton.
No, it's actually like the 4th time that we're going to be in Hilton. I'm pretty sure. 4th or 5th time. It's not very often.
We were definitely spoiled with the schedule the year prior.
Yep.
I think that's why.
We sure were.
So, but exciting. There's some exciting guys in there. I think that's the thing. I've said it and I'll say it again. You just got to focus on some of these guys that are having a really good season and let's just see them go to the end. Like these are very, like Evan, Jacob, Panero, and Cody right now have a very serious argument to be made that they'll be All-Americans.
Yeah, that could be 4 All-Americans right there.
So,
and if Evan Bachman has a great tournament, you could argue he could be an All-American. MJ Gaitan was a round of 12 guy last year.
Yeah.
One result different, he's an All-American. So just because this year has been riddled with injury and all this stuff and guys changing weights and everything under the sun, doesn't mean Iowa State can't have a successful end of season and successful postseason. Both those things are very much on the table. Like Jacqueline said, the Frost twins story is one of my favorite things of the season.
I love them.
I obviously am a big Anthony Etchemendia fan. I enjoy the way he wrestles. I hope he has a quick and speedy recovery and comes back next year. That said, the Frost twins are so much fun.
I know.
And like they're fun in the most boring way possible.
Because they're just so good.
They're just so good. And it was Panero said it. It's like, when they were freshmen, we just called them robots because they'd come into practice, wrestle, and leave. And like, that's all they did. And it's like, eventually they started showing the personality. And then St. John called them quirky and they do all this. They're funny and like their personalities are starting to show up. But like, even when they go on the map, it does like robotic is an incorrect term. It does not do a service to what they do, but it just seems so robotic.
Well, they're like
just
very
so technically sound. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they just don't make mistakes or very often. And it's just one of those things where it's like, how are you winning 10-0 right now?
Yeah.
Like you got in on a single leg and like they're a good example. They get those crossed wrist tilts and they get 4 free points from it. It's like, what? And they're not free. Again, I understand it's very difficult. But they get 4 points from it and then they ride them out, and then the second period, they get an escape, another takedown. It's like, okay, well, it's 11-0. So, yeah, huge fan of the Frost brothers.
Well, that was kind of what I said when I had a chance to speak with Dresser about Anthony officially being, out and having a medical red shirt. It was like, it's truly one of those where it's like, you love Anthony, you want him in the lineup. I think he's really fun to watch. Obviously, he ended on a really high note last year. But man, you're also like, But we get to watch Jacob now. And I really want to watch Jacob in March.
Yep.
Because I'm really curious how he'll do.
Very.
So.
He has All-American potential. I think there's no doubt about that. And Rob Gray asked the question of Metcalf. Obviously, we're in this season and all that. But have you guys thought about next year and your embarrassment of riches at 133 to 157? And Metcalf was like, yeah, those thoughts have crossed our mind. And what I tell our coaches, what I tell our athletes is we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Obviously, anything that could happen, referencing this year and all the injuries. And he's like, also, who knows? Maybe Jacob Frost grows to 174 and wrestles there. It's like, well, I don't know about that one. But it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out in the future. Because like, boy, you would like to have Frost in there. You would like to have Swiderski in there. You would like to have Etchemendia in there. All these guys. So they're gonna have a tough task on their hands. But for now, they got what they got, and hopefully there's no more injuries.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm just really hoping Cody Chittum gets it to be on the podium.
Me too.
I think he needs that.
Yeah.
But that's just the emotionally driven part of me because I know how emotional he is about wanting to get there. But I'm excited. I feel re-excited. I didn't feel super excited there. Like coming into January, I was like, dear Lord, help us.
Yeah. And there's just so much unknowns too.
Yeah,
so many
it was
unknowns.
just like, it's one of those where you're like doing your job, but you're like, what is my job going to look like? Like, what is it how are we covering this team? But we're in a good place right now. I'm excited for this weekend. This past weekend, some fun duels. Aiden and I hung out Friday night and we watched the Iowa Penn State duel.
Yeah.
Not often I get to just sit and watch wrestling and not be thinking about work, but I just got to sit and like tweet random thoughts that I was having during the match, which was so nice.
Yep. That was a fun duel. I watched that too.
But this made me think, since we were talking about Anthony, that some fans online were saying that they felt that Dresser was playing the system or something with Anthony, which it's so crazy to me because all it takes is like 2 seconds to go to Anthony's social media and you'll see he literally has like some tube sticking out of his ankle from whatever surgery he had to have. It sounds like they found an infection the Monday after the Oklahoma State duel.
Yeah. They said he was really close to actually wrestling.
Yeah, like they were literally going to wrestle him on Sunday and then they didn't and they just decided not to. And it ended up, there was an infection. So they had to do like it sounds like an emergency surgery type of situation. And then now he has, it sounds like several surgeries. So I was laughing a little bit about that on seeing those comments on Twitter when I shared that news on my personal account. Just people saying like, they're playing the system.
Yeah. Not quite. Not with Etchemendia.
But no, I mean, college wrestling, it's a fun time. So this is where the real chaos starts.
It sure is.
And
hopefully no more chaos in the lineup.
Chaos in the action.
Yes. Hopefully that's where the chaos is.
So, but yeah, 2 duels this weekend. Friday night, like we said, senior night. Sounds like it'll be Zach Redding, Kyson Terrakina,
Evan Bachman.
and Evan Bachman.
Yep.
And there might be a few
and
others.
And then a few guys who are backups.
But I mean,
no offense to the backups.
But yeah, so make sure to be ready to watch those guys get sent out and check your stripe colors. Wear your white on Sunday. I'm excited. It'll be a good weekend. So final thoughts, Ben?
I think I've expressed all of my thoughts. I'm excited. Yeah, it's just great to have him in Hilton again, finally. And then unfortunately, it's also the last time they're going to be in Hilton this year. So that sucks a little bit. But enjoy it while we can and then get ready for March because it's coming real quick.
I know. It's so crazy. I already got my NCAA credential approved. And then I sent in my Big 12 credential request today. And I booked my hotel for Tulsa. So it's sneaking up on us. It's coming up fast. I'm excited.
Cade Schmidt is the only other senior I found in the lineup.
Okay. Well,
so shout out to Cade Schmidt, 174 pounder.
But you could all decide to drive to Cedar Falls on February 16th.
True.
For the Unite duel. So I wouldn't miss out on that one. That'll be fun.
That'd be a really fun one.
Northern Iowa's on a kick.
Yeah, they are.
They are killing it this year. But, all right, well, I don't have any final thoughts. I'm just ready for some stuff to get going. Excited for this weekend. And as always, huge thank you to our friends at Fareway, huge supporters of Cyclone Fanatic and Iowa State Wrestling. We wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't be going on these trips if it wasn't for Fareway. So get all your groceries, get your Super Bowl
that's coming up.
stuff ordered from Fareway. You'll have time to go to the duel and then get home to eat whatever food you left on the crock pot and watch the Super Bowl.
Sounds like a grand old time.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about the people that are playing. So specifically the Chiefs. Anyways, guys, big weekend. We'll be back next week to break it all down and recap and do all the things. So as always, thanks for listening, guys.